And once again, joined by Leitrim manager Andy Moran to have a little bit of a recap on a rather eventful couple of months since we had you on the podcast last time, Andy. It's been a while since the start of last year. First of all, you're very welcome to the show, as always. Pleasure to have you.
Great to be back. Thanks, Breffney.
It's been a fairly eventful couple of months since we had you for a conversation before. You've been to New York and back. It didn't go to plan, I suppose. The Tailteann Cup has come and gone. Let me start by asking you really, I suppose, how have you been over the last few months? What's your thoughts on the end of the league campaign and the championship run?
Yeah, I think since we talked to you in the tunnel in Park Sean from the last league game against Sligo, where we're going into injury time, point up, and we're heading for Division 3 in Scroll Park the week after, it's been, like, needless to say, a hugely frustrating time for me, more importantly, the players, the management team, and the Leitrim supporters. And Joe, we go over to New York. We were expected to win, and we have high expectations of ourselves. Joe, we shoot for 7 or 8, 28, and we score 15 points, and we come out on the wrong side of it. And that's the nature of sport. And it's and like you do after that, you got to dust yourself down, and you got to take the criticism, and you got to kind of push the shoulders back and go again. So that's what we've been doing since the Wexford game, then since the Tailteann Cup. It's been a huge kind of air of reflection. Try to get the reviews done with the county board, with the medical team and the players, and then you kind of just have to take a breath and kind of, I suppose, reflect and then make decisions of where you're going to go then after that.
I know you've probably talked this to death over the last few weeks with media, with players, with the county board, as you mentioned, and with sponsors and other stakeholders in the game here in the county. But let's maybe take a look at each of those 4 games. And I suppose it was a pattern in terms of the play in those games of early goal chances not converted, maybe a little bit of nerves, a little bit of self-doubt creeping in certain quarters. And it just seemed to end up games that we possibly should have won based on maybe the early dominance. We just didn't quite close them out and ended up on the losing side.
Yeah, I suppose as a management team, there's circumstances within each one of those games. You'd love if you could turn back time and change it. But if we go back to that Sligo game, and like a whole lot of our, I suppose my job is to have us like contesting the last 2 rounds of the National League, and to have us in position to go and get promotion. And Tom Pryor had put us in that position, and we didn't see it out. And realistically, did we ever really recover from that Sligo defeat? And the answer to that is possibly not. Like, we went to New York, I'd be kind of very happy with the way we actually played in New York. And that's not try to, I suppose, pacify people or patronize people or anything like that. That's reality. Is we went in, we created the goal chance we thought we'd create. We created the point chance we thought we'd create. And just on the day, we just didn't take them. And that's it. And we got caught. We got bet on a penalty shootout. We nearly got caught in 2018. We got caught this time. And like, that is hugely frustrating and really, really annoying for players and management. But listen, it is what it is now. We cannot change back time. And the Tailteann Cup, referee, I'll be absolutely perfectly honest with you. We went up, played a really good Antrim team, and we're now in the semi-final of the Tailteann Cup, and Crews there haven't really got challenged since the group stages. And we did really, really well until Keith realistically got injured within that game, and we were level. And then in a 9-minute spell, they scored. They got that gap of 8 or 9 points, and we fought well at the end. For Mana, we came out after half time, put in a really good blast of a performance. Got back to level again. And probably that's where I would suggest the injuries really kicked in, where you'd love to be bringing, like in that Sligo game, that Laois game with a Jack Heslin and Tom Pryor, these really kind of explosive fellas, Evan Sweeney in New York, coming on off the bench, making that difference. And then we didn't have them. So that's when we decided to introduce all the younger players. So the Tailteann Cup for me was actually okay, considering the people were missing. But the Sligo and New York games are really the games that you'd be frustrated and disappointed about.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of talk around the county. I'm sure you're aware of this, about your own future in the position. Can you give us any insight into what the plan is for next year? Are you do you have a contract? Are you prepared to honour it? Is the county board happy to have you? Have even those discussions taken place yet?
Yeah, I suppose over the last couple of weeks we met with the medical team. You do a review, and we met with the county board. Martin and Enda and these guys, and had that review, and we met with the players actually on Monday evening, and listen, it's not in my nature to be stepping away from Antrim, to be honest, to be quitting Antrim. I think we came in on our very first podcast, I'd say we said Rome wasn't built in a day. This is going to take time. And along that time, there's going to be disappointments. Like, I was very fortunate in our career, chasing this All-Ireland dream, didn't get to it, but at great times along the way. But there was bumps along that road. It wasn't just, you go and you get fit and all of a sudden you're contending for these competitions. It takes multiple years. I played from 2003 to 2011 until that really good team came, and then we kind of pushed it on. So in this, it takes time. For me, yes, we lost to New York, but the thing I would look at is Sligo went on to draw with Kildare in a group stage of a senior inter-county top-level competition, and we were within a minute or 2 minutes of beating Sligo and getting to Division 3. So do I think we're way off? Absolutely not. Do I think we've made huge progress along the way? Yes. Have we made huge mistakes along the way? Absolutely. Absolutely. No one is trying to deny that. But the progress this team has made throughout the course of the last, I think, 14, 15, 16 months, in my opinion, has been huge. And the evidence is there. You see the young fellas coming off. You see Oisín coming off like Oisín McLaughlin. He's tried for 3 or 4 years to get going. Now, all of a sudden, he's a mainstay on the team. You see Keith Byrne becoming top scorer in Division 4 2 years in a row, top scorer overall in one of those years, Tailteann Cup All-Star, Paul Keeney, Tailteann Cup All-Star. These things are tangible to a group of lads that are really trying to push on and do stuff for their county, and they're putting the work in, and it's a matter of sticking with it. And like, the easy thing to do for everyone here after New York is to quit and walk away and start again. But these guys, our team, our Leitrim team, stuck together after New York. No one walked. No one walked away from it, stayed with it, fought to the bitter end, even though we had catastrophic injuries, fought to the bitter end. And yes, we came up second against Fermanagh, Antrim and Wexford, but it wasn't without trying.
Yeah, in terms of the squad, you talked about the kind of players unavailable through injury. Obviously, Keith, I think anyone who watched any of the games would have seen that he was not at his usual standard. And we suffered because of that. And he wasn't the only one. There's others, obviously, as well. But talk to me about some people who weren't there and what the view is towards them coming back into the fold in the medium to long term, and looking towards maybe the FBD and the National League at the start of next year and through the club championship this year. I'm thinking the likes of Donald Casey didn't play much football this year. Ryan O'Rourke didn't play much football for the county, but yet he's been involved with the club scene as well. An impressive, I think, 13 or 14 points he got in his first game back.
Just to rub it in, yeah. No, it's a great question, and Keith, I will go first with Keith, because Keith got injured halfway through the league and got injured against Antrim in the first round, hurt his knee, 2 separate injuries, and always put his body on the line. Like the amount of respect as a footballer I got from him over the last 3 to 4 months, not when he was kicking 10, 12, 15 points, but over the last couple of months where he really stuck at it, even through injury, got himself right, got himself on the field, and was willing to put the Leitrim jersey on. I think that's the biggest compliment I can pay to him. It was just, he was willing, even though he knows once you cross that white line, you're being judged as a fit player. He was willing to put his shoulders to the wheel and never kind of let the side down. And it was so impressive on his behalf. On the other guys, it's a question of trying to get them back for the club season. So we had Ryan and Donald both at the player review on Monday evening, and Ryan was with us right up to, John was with the team right up to the Fermanagh game. But then I think at that stage it was fairly clear he wasn't going to make it back for any of the Tailteann Cup games. So, like, I think people were shocked to see him playing club football. But club football is a huge step down from going in and playing inter-county football. And through talks between the physios, Ryan, myself, that was the decision that was made. And that's fine. We should be happy as Leitrim people to see Ryan O'Rourke back on the field. Our trick now is try to keep him back on the field, which we haven't seen over the last couple of years, to keep him fit as much as we can. Like, he had a really good season last year. I think he was the 6th top scorer overall league and championship on all of our, and I think I've seen that on your stats at the end of the year. He was 6th overall, which was amazing considering he missed a bit of football. But our trick now, our aim is to get Ryan to get a full club season and get him to play then into January and February for Leitrim. Donal, very similar. I think the problem with Donal really was he got a really significant hamstring tear. But it was the first time then again that himself and Paul played college football in UL, and that correlation, we probably didn't manage that right.
I was going to ask you about that, because I think even on the day he got injured, I think it was it Antrim in the first day of the league or the second game in the league. It was a handful of days before, I believe, the semi-final of the Sigerson Cup. I nearly said the Collingwood. I'm giving my college loyalties out there. But the Sigerson Cup semi-final was, I think, 3 days later. In hindsight, was it the right decision to play himself and Paul that close to what ultimately might be one of the biggest games he possibly ever would have played in?
It's a really good question, and it's a question we actually, myself and Donal, talked about on Monday evening. The aim was to take Donal off after 40 minutes, but as you can remember, that Aidan Flynn dislocated his elbow on that same day, and it just delayed it. Tom Quinn was ready to come on, and it just delayed. And the very last play he was supposed to come off for, he pulled his hamstring. That, like, I had a great relationship actually with Declan in UL, and we were talking all the time about minutes, warm-ups, football. And that one was just unlucky. Like, absolutely, we can take some stock in that injury. There's no doubt about it. But very, very, very unlucky. Paul only came on for 7 or 8 minutes. Again, that was the plan, that Donal would start the game and Paul would finish the game. Listen, it didn't work out. And it's something. And like, I suppose Donal and Ryan are two really, really strong players for Leitrim. I think we need to have a way of how we're going to manage them over the next 6 months to get them there, because over the last 4 years they haven't played enough football for Leitrim. And our aim as management, my aim coming in here as manager of Leitrim, was to give the Leitrim players the opportunities that I got as a player. And at that point we haven't got it,
Speaking about the opportunities you got as a player, Sigerson obviously was a big part of your early career, at least, and you've been a big advocate of that both on and off this show. Do we have any of our younger lads, maybe last year's county minors, some of our under-20s, that are going into that level this year, and have they been helped or pushed into programs in different colleges?
Yeah, well, Barry is a full scholarship student in UCD, Barry McNulty, a really, really strong player. Oisin obviously played for Sligo IT last year, but not many more played. And like, when we came in first, it was a very, very unusual situation where we had Barry McWeeney, who was the last Sigerson All-Star from Leitrim, and Paul Keeney wins the next one in 2023. So it was a big gap, but there was nobody playing Sigerson ball. So we tried to encourage it. But you do have to manage the load of players, and particularly players who are a tiny bit more injury prone. You need to probably manage them a bit more. And like, we might have got that wrong, we might not have, but there is a suggestion there that we might, like Donal, minutes, all that sort of stuff, we might have changed differently. If I had my time again, I probably would, but these things happen. I did it where you played every second game, but some players, like the likes of Paul Keeney, never gets injured, so maybe you just need to, we need to change our kind of approach to it next year. But within the college football, we want all our lads that are going to college, we want them all playing football. Like college football, like if the boys had played the year before with UL, Paul Keeney and Donal Casey, I think they'd have won the Sigerson, but then they'd have also got the opportunity to play with David Clifford, which these opportunities don't come around too often. And to see him train and to see his application, all that sort of stuff, I think would have been a huge education for them lads to see.
Yeah, I think Alan Flynn will be praying that you haven't given the commentators curse to Paul Keeney, saying he doesn't get injured. Going back to some of the selections through the last set of games and probably the season as a whole, goalkeeper has been an interesting position this year from Leitrim's point of view. We started off with Darren in goals. Solid performance, a couple of clean sheets and a couple of wins early on, and then made the decision to go with Nevin, who wouldn't be a recognised goalkeeper, but to be fair to him, pulled off some amazing saves in games that kept us in. I know New York, he made some vital saves, and I think against Sligo or Laois as well, he pulled off a couple of saves that kept us in the games at pivotal times. I know Killian Gaffey was floating around as a name in the squad as well. Where are we with goalkeeper plan going forward, and are we going to stick with Nevin, or are we looking at maybe the likes of Killian coming in and challenging for that position?
Yeah, I suppose just to give an update quickly just on the other players that were injured, the likes of Evan Sweeney had a wrist break, Geordie just has a knee issue, should be back for the club season. Adam Reynolds hamstring, should be back for the club season. He should be back actually in the next week or two. Conor Dwyer just had a similar injury to Ryan, so we're just trying to get that right and manage it. And obviously KB with his knee, so hopefully they'll be all back ready and flying for the club season. The goalkeeper one was always an interesting one. Joe, I suppose Nevin went in last year when Maxi got injured. He went in as sub-keeper to Benny, and he actually showed to be really, really good at communicating, helping, talking, and where it goes. His kicker was really good. He was good to give the ball back, to really strong under the high ball. Obviously, there's certain characteristics that Darren is better than Nevin, and there's certain characteristics that Nevin are better than Maxi. But listen, we made that call, and listen, we were very happy with it, if I'm being honest, because I think Nevin done really, really well. He saved a couple of penalties in New York. Don't think he had a shot to save in New York, but made some, from play during the course of the game and extra time. Don't think he had a shot to save, but did really well on the penalties. Kickouts were excellent, and I think carried himself kind of really well throughout that Laois, Sligo, New York, and the Tailteann Cup games. Killian then is, Killian played for Sligo Rovers, for people that don't know Killian Gaffey, and hopefully you get to know him during the summer. An extraordinary talent, really good guy, had a really bad, severe knee injury leaving Sligo Rovers, and where he's come from last summer when we met him first to where he's come to now is an absolute extraordinary change in a young fella, and hopefully he just needs to keep going that growth pattern. If he does, he's an extraordinary keeper with an extraordinary talent, and hopefully we can utilise him in 2024.
No more than yourself. You might have worn the Longford Town jersey at some point as well. I know you've.
And he's got everything you need as a keeper, and we just hope we see that during the course of the year. But a lot of that is down to Killian, and if Killian really wants it and chase it down, I think he has a really big future to play.
I know we touched on it briefly, but is Andy Moran in situ for the next 12 months? Are you around for the 2024 campaign? Is that a done deal?
Yeah, well, that's the way I'm planning anyway. To be honest with you, we came in, I just see this as a work in progress. I don't see this as, I don't see the start and the end point to where you want to go. I the biggest thing we need to do is to have player retention within our county and then go with that team for 3 to 4 years. That's what we need to do. And that's the only way we're going to get strong. You talked to Colin Collins when I used to do the podcast on Off the Ball with the boys, the football pod, with Colin Collins on. That is the stitch. That is what you're looking for. You're looking for committed guys who you can put strength and conditioning on, you can put fitness on, and you can build a structure around them. Over the course of our time with Leitrim from year 1 to year 2, we didn't have that, but I'm fairly confident from year 2 to year 3 we'll have a very good set, structured squad going forward.
Speaking to the lads on the meeting on Monday night, percentage-wise, how many of them do you expect to be available to, if selected, of course, to you over the next 12 months?
Yeah, well, no one has made me aware that they're going travelling. Obviously, there's 1 or 2 of them maybe approaching the end of their career, which is fine as well. And I don't think we need to put names on them because we don't need to put pressure on them. But I think any Leitrim supporter knows who I'm talking about, really. But the rest of them seem good. We've had obviously Reardon stepped away during the year. We'd expect to have Reardon back in 2024. That's Reardon O'Rourke, sorry for everyone. I just mentioned them by first names, but Reardon, yeah, expect to have him back in 2024. So listen, it's all positive. We brought Stephen McLaughlin in from Kiltubber during the year, and was absolutely brilliant for us around the place in terms of being from Leitrim, wanting to play, wanting to drive it on. Excellent character and person, and huge influence around the place. You've got Paul Moran, obviously Barry, Michael McCurran and Raddick, all coming in from the 20s, Jack Casey, and making a huge impression around the place. So what we're trying to do is get these guys who are going to commit for 2 or 3 years and really go after it for 2 or 3 years. That's what we're looking to do.
Without putting you on the spot, Andy, you've come from a senior All-Ireland championship challenging team over an extended period of time where that buy-in is there from players. In your opinion, 2 years into the job, does the average Leitrim footballer understand the commitment that's required to be at that level or to aspire to that level? And I'm not trying to cast aspersions on the lads, but we hear stories anecdotally of lads opting out because they're aggrieved that they weren't picked in a particular game, or we hear that this is all anecdotal and it's all pub talk. And but that's what people are saying around the county. So I might as well ask you about it. Others opting out for social engagements, whether it's a soccer match in another country or whether it's a relative stag party, and opting out of big games or training sessions or preparation for big games because of stuff that wouldn't be accepted in the environment you came out of as a player.
I would say over the past, no would be the answer to that, but I wouldn't put this team into that bracket, because for me, what I see every night of training and what I see from the vast majority of the group and the group that we'll be going forward with, that these guys absolutely are doing everything in their power to get where they need to go. Of course, you're going to have, it's not Mayo, it's not Kerry, it's not Dublin. So what I mean by that is when you play for them counties, there is incentives there to play for them counties and to do stuff. In Leitrim and smaller counties, them incentives aren't there. It's the love of the county. You're playing for their team and away you go. But this group of lads are absolutely committed to it. Like we brought a group of lads together on Monday night that represented the whole group through one person that represented the Dublin group, one person that represented the under-20s, injured fellas, all these guys to the player review. And if you see what them guys did over 3.5 hours on Monday night to try to make themselves better, to try to review the season, what we need to do to improve, like they're so close. But that, Breffney, the point I'm trying to make to everyone is that takes time. It doesn't happen in 14 or 15 months. It takes time. And people need to have patience with these young guys. They're going to make mistakes. Of course, nobody wanted to go out to New York and be the first team beaten out there. But c'est la vie, it's happened. We have to move on and get stronger. And where I got huge encouragement from was the gap between New York and the Tailteann Cup and the boys. We arrived back on the Monday evening or the Tuesday morning, and on Friday evening, all them boys were in the gym, ready to go, getting ready to go to training at 10 to 7 that night for training at 7 o'clock. And it was just, they just took it on. We knew we were under pressure all throughout the Tailteann Cup with the injuries we had, the quality of the opposition we were playing against. But the boys never gave up. They stuck at it. And that's going to be huge learning bringing into 2024.
That's probably the fairest answer to that question I could ask, but I could have got. But I just, looking from the outside in, over the last few weeks, I think all that is evident. And the standard in Gaelic football, some people might argue with the style of play of certain teams, but the standard of fitness levels and stuff, it's going exponentially across the board. So if we make a little advancement and everyone else makes the same little advancement, and we're in the same position. So you nearly need to like bullet past people for it to even be noticeable that you've improved. How can we do that in the next? And I hear what you're saying about the short-term planning. Like worrying about next Sunday is never going to get you there in the long run. You might win a game, but then you'll get injuries or you'll get players burned out and you end up losing the war, even though you might have won the battle. Where do you go from here? Or how can we do it? Or is it even outside your remit? Is it the youngsters coming through the underage ranks? Where do Leitrim need to put their emphasis over the next 5 to 10 years in the same way as Sligo and Roscommon have done to get the results they've got and to get where they are?
But for me, Sligo is a really good evidence. There's no golden bullet. It's just literally consistency across the board. So Carol Foley wrote, I'm right, Carol Foley, minor manager. Yeah, Carol Foley wrote, there was an article with Carol after they got knocked out of the minor championship, and he was just going. And if you read that article, you could literally block out minors and block out Carol Foley and put in Andy Moran and Leitrim seniors. It was nearly the same article. So we're just trying to change little things along the way. It's literally little things along the way. And then things will happen. But people need to be patient with it. It's like, for me, like, I absolutely adore the people of Leitrim, the supporters. Geez, the sponsors, the supporters, what they've done for this team over the last 12 to 14 months has been extraordinary. But most of them people that come to the games can see the little shoots of progress, can see the little bits, okay, now we're scoring more. But they can also see we're getting fitter. But every other team along with us is getting fitter along the way as well. So Sligo didn't just stand still to wait for Leitrim. We haven't bet Sligo since, 2011, 2012? And, like, look how close we're getting to them. and they're getting to under 20 finals and stuff like that. So there's been an awful lot of good work done. And sometimes when a result comes like New York, people then forget about everything else that's gone before and everything then that comes after it. So for me, people just need to continue along the track of little small gains of progress all along the way. Dockery did a great job last year with the minors. Carl did a great job this year with the minors. Even though the results weren't there, we were really competitive in an awful lot of them games. Okay, we've got 4 really, really, or 5 really good under-20s out of an under-20 crop this year. We need to do the same with young Honeyman and these guys, and young Ben Guckian next year, bring them along as well. So it just needs to be small little changes. And the key thing is then when we have good players, that we hold on to as many of them as we can and add in them little bits of little pockets of good players then along the way as well.
Fair enough. I love what I'm hearing, and I fully agree with that. Slowly building a squad of quality and keeping them retained. What would you say to, I suppose, the people out in the county who you mentioned, sponsors and supporters, and obviously the finances come into this as well. And without going into who's getting what, the costs have gone up in the last 2 years. So, what would you say to somebody who comes in and says that the money that the extra money that's been spent on preparation of teams, it's not worth it? That whole argument of we've spent extra money, we're not seeing extra results. Given what you've just said, where do you go with that point of view?
Well, like the way I look, okay, so I look at everything kind of from a business perspective. So last Thursday we were 8 years in business, right? So
congratulations.
Yeah, and like it was great. But those tough bloody days, like year 1, year 2, year 3, weren't decorative, making money, happy. You know, now all of a sudden we've 8 years in business, with 24 staff, and we feel like we're growing. COVID hits it halfway between that, and you nearly needed to start again. And to me, yes, people, I think they're really fair comments. I think they're really fair comments in terms of too much money being spent. Boom, 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 boom. Would I agree with them? No, but there's an argument. I respect that argument, and you have to look into it, and then you need to strike a balance. We are Leitrim. We're not going to be like, I think it was one of the top counties spending 2 million on their hurlers and footballers in 2022. We're not going to get to that level. But how can we make the best of what we have, and away we go? And like, how can we create more money? So what I'm saying by that is, how do we get to the point where it's the 50-mile challenge is absolutely brilliant. Mike Feeney and these guys doing extraordinary work, Leitrim County Council, all these guys doing really good work. But how do we get the diaspora to help us out along that way, so that if we do need to spend, that we have growth patterns along the way as well?
Well, like the 2 million you talked about, if you take that per head population and per head of employment and per head of the businesses in the county, I know which county you're talking about because it was well reported last year. They're not a million miles away. We're probably spending more per supporter or per club than those other counties. So, like, how does a county like Leitrim justify that?
Well, either like you have to kind of justify it, or else you just get pushed to the side. And I would say if you went Cavan, if you went to Sligo, if you went to Leitrim, if you went to Roscommon, if you went to all them per capita, pro rata, I would say if you compared us to them counties, I wouldn't say you'd say we're spending as much. Do you know what I'm saying? An awful lot of our expenditures on player mileage. We've location where if we've 30 players in the panel, we've 15 in Dublin, 15 here. So an awful lot of that is mileage, and Mayo would be the exact same. If you have players in Dublin, they need to come. All of a sudden, the county board needs to generate. So an awful lot of that is your unfortunate location and the amount of employment that's in. So that county, yes, but I'll tell you, that county we're talking about, there's an awful lot of Mayo people in that county as well. You know, they'd support an awful lot of Mayo as well. You know.
Yeah, in terms of that's true actually. In terms of the club championship, obviously that's the next focus. There's a couple of rounds of the league to be played. We're back up in action this weekend. Will you get to games? I know you're a regular face around the county, all over the county at all levels, to watch games. What's the plan for the next few weeks and into the championship?
Yeah, well, listen, the plan for me is there's obviously a certain number of players that we will be keeping an eye on. Those guys that played in the 20s that we didn't really know about, that played for Benny this year, young Cunningham there. there's certain lads that we will be trying to get around to look at. There's obviously certain fellas that the likes of Ben Guckian, who's everyone can see the talent that Ben has. So, like, is my time really well spent going watching Ben? Or is it going watch and try to get these little nuggets down in Manor Hamilton? I remember the first day we seen Barry McNulty playing last year, and we actually didn't know who he was for 20 minutes, and then we kind of realised, oh, geez, that's young McNulty who played minor last year for Manor. So, like, you have to go around and try to find the nuggets. But the key thing that we need to do over the next, I suppose, 6 months is get on the training field with the boys. And it's not going around doing group training sessions or anything like that. It's meeting them individually. Again, against Wexford, we had 17 shots from playing the first half, and we converted 5 of them. So our shot conversion needs to get better. Our skill set needs to get better. Our training practice needs to get better. They've improved, but we need to get them to a different level. So an awful lot of our time this year, I would say, would be spent on the training fields of Fina, Manor Hamilton, Gortletteragh, all these little clubs, going around and just working with players.
Manor Hamilton won't thank you for being called a little club. In terms of the, I can see the letter of complaint coming in on that.
Clancy made the comeback a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I saw that. In terms of the, he didn't play round 2 though. That's all I'm saying.
He's still stiff. He told me he's still stiff.
In terms of the next 6 months, what's success look like? What are you aiming to get? Is it about getting 80% of the squad back, 90% of the squad back? Is it about unearthing 2 or 3 gems that haven't had much game time at senior level for the county, bringing them in and having them fit and ready to rock in January, February when the National League gets back up and running? Like, what is your main target for the next 6 months when, even though you're out of sight, out of mind of most of the Leitrim fans as they turn their attention to the club scene, what are you aiming to achieve in the next 6 months in the job?
You I think you asked me a question there a few minutes ago. You asked me a question, do we know what it takes in terms of higher level performance? Do we know what it takes? And what the players do in the next 6 months is absolutely going to be the key to drive forward in terms of what shape to come back into pre-season. Now we've got a run of 7 league games in 9 weeks. It never happened before. We had it last year. We're going to have it again next January. What sort of shape to arrive back in when we're allowed back training on November 24th? What sort of application do they put towards their weights, their skill set, their shooting, all that sort of stuff? To me, that's going to be success. If you see the like, you're on about positives from this year, Aidan Flynn coming back, being extraordinary, Nevin in goal, obviously, the way Killian McGlone played his last 2 games in the Tailteann Cup, Adam Reynolds' debut, Barry McNulty debut, Jack Hestlin, the player he is now compared to the player he was 16 months ago. That was all done last winter when you seen him playing for Gortletteragh all of a sudden Jack Heston was jumping out in midfield, catching ball, running in, scoring goals. I think he even played a Junior B game, the madman. And then you had Oisin McLaughlin. But his body, Breffney, and I'm joking about it, but his body wouldn't have been able for that before.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And now he's playing extra games. The way Oisin McLaughlin came back into us this year to become a really good asset for us, moving into the tail end of 2023 and now into 2024. And the standout one is Darragh Rooney. So Darragh Rooney goes away, has a club season for Judes that he was very, very proud of, but came back in an extraordinary shape. And in his last 4 games for Leitrim, he scored 111 from play. And that's success. And I think boys can kind of see that what Keith has given the lads in winning that Tailteann Cup All-Star, what Paul Keeney has given the lads in winning that Sigerson Cup All-Star, they can see success within success. And people say, oh, you shouldn't be chasing individual awards. Well, if a lot of our guys get individual awards, that means we've won something. So that's the way it's going. You see the shape of the Carrick boys now playing club football. The work they've done during the winter, even in the league games that we've seen already, has been extraordinary. And like, how good are they going to become championship? What you mentioned, Killian Gaffey. What Killian Gaffey going to go in and nail the number 1 jersey for Carrick in 2023? If he does that, then he's a huge chance to play for Leitrim in 2024. So that's success for me. And of course, we're looking for 1 or 2. We decided in the Tailteann Cup, we could go with really experienced players coming off the bench, or we could go with Radic, Paul Moran and Michael McCartin. And we went with them guys because we want them to be there in 2024. And them guys will go away. Paul had a really, really good under-20 campaign. I know they only played 1 game, but all during the Philly McGuinness was excellent at full forward. Radic was brilliant against Galway in under 20. Joe Michael was very, very unfortunate, but we have to remember what he did with the under 20s last year against Mayo. Best player on the field. Obviously, Barry was brilliant, and Jack had a really good game. So we decided to give them for his chances because we feel we can grow with them over the next 24 to 36 months.
Just as you mentioned a couple of names there, a few more flashed into my mind in terms of other codes and whether discussions have been had with the likes of Jack Kilheeney, who would have been a key player for Leitrim under Terry Hyland. He's played rugby, living in Dublin. Has the conversation been had with him, or has he kind of been, I suppose, just... No,
the door's always open for Jack. We had a great conversation with him last year. We were very close, I thought, to pushing him through the door, but just last minute, the commitment was probably too much with the two codes. But that conversation will definitely be had again. And if Jack comes to me and says, Andy, I'm interested in this thing, we had the same conversation with Adam Reynolds, and Adam Reynolds decided to come with us, which was brilliant. And to be honest, up to when Adam got injured, he had a really, really strong progressive year, and he was a huge loss to us when he ended up getting injured, So that's another conversation we need to have, or like that another conversation we have to have with Jack. Obviously, Adam has come into us. But then there's other players. Joe, the likes of Bruner, David Brune, will be looking, Joe, to have a conversation with him. We've already had the conversation with Reardon. But then the big thing for us is to get Donal, to get Jordan, to get Conor Dwyer, to get Ryan O'Rourke back on the field, which will make us a really strong. Breffney, actually, the real good thing about fellas getting injured, and there's not really many positives about it, but the real good thing is that other fellas get huge experience. And with Ryan not there, with the likes of Donal Casey not there, we've got fellas in now where we've got McGlone playing at cornerback, we've got Adam Reynolds playing at cornerback, we've got Aidan Flynn back playing, we've got Tom Pryor who's got huge minutes, Ushi McLaughlin has got huge minutes. So if we can get these guys back, then all of a sudden we've got a strength of a squad that we can move it on,
You'll have to do something with the weather to get David Brune back from down under, but maybe you never know what you can organise.
We might if he comes home and plays for Leitrim Gaels, we might cut up his passport or something. Aidan Flynn is on the case already, I think.
Well, he's been warned now. Listen, Andy, we probably kept you for about twice as long as we expected to be chatting to you, but thanks very much for a very honest and thorough chat with us about all things county football at the moment. Before I let you go, though, neck on the block for the county championship, who are the teams to watch and who do you think is going to be lifting the Fianna Cup at the end of the season?
Yeah, well, I think Fianna are putting huge emphasis on it. Like I'm only beginning to know their history. It's 90
and one years, I think, this year.
Oh, it's amazing. And it's I know a lot of the boys, their dads played on it, and I know it's a huge, even with Ryan, I know it's a huge thing for him and Reardon and Dipper and these guys that they want to go and do something. Obviously, they're putting a lot of stock into it, but the favourites have to be Carrick. John, the players they're even pushing through. Young Lenihan now all of a sudden has become a huge player. Ben is obviously going to add to them. Jack has had a couple of months of county football. They're just, Adam has had a full year of county football. They're definitely such a key player. If Killian gets right now, they're not lacking in the goalkeeping position anyway, but if Killian gets right, it'll probably add to them a tiny bit. If Killian gets into number one, it'll probably add to them a tiny bit. So it's just all arrows are pointing, unfortunately, for everyone else in the county, I think, towards Carrick and Fianna. Maybe, I wouldn't call them an outsider, but if they were going to be a second bet, I'd probably go with Fianna as a second bet.
Yeah, I think Fianna.
All of Mohill are about to kill me.
Yeah, and withdraw from the county team for next year.
Yeah. But obviously, you have Byrne there. If KB catches heat during the championship, he's probably putting 11, 12, 13 points on the board, and they become tough to beat then as well, So, and they've been in the last three county finals. They're not going to be far away. I think the great thing about the Leitrim County Championship is that it is so competitive. It really is competitive. Between Barry McNulty gives Manor Hamilton a chance. Really does give them a chance in terms of you have James Rooney, you have Conor Dolan, you have Paddy Maguire, and then all of a sudden you have a little bit of class now. All of a sudden within their group. With Evan, if he gets back from this wrist injury, and Barry McNulty, and all of a sudden now they've got a chance now as well,
Yeah, absolutely. It's 91 years, I think, since Fianna last won the Fianna Cup, and I'm open to correction. I know Vincent O'Rourke will be on to me with a correction on this if I'm wrong, but I feel like my mother's uncle was on that team. He won a Connacht Championship medal with Leitrim in 27 from Fianna, and he'd be of the right vintage, and so maybe there's a link there, but it's been a while. He's long dead at this stage, Paddy Carey. Andy, it's been a pleasure to have you. I'm sure we'll be chatting to you along pitches, and we might even have you back. We had you for the county final last year. We might even have you back on commentary duty with us at some stage again this year. We'll firm that up. We'll talk. My people will talk to your people to negotiate the arrangements. Andy, thanks a million for chatting with me. It's been a pleasure, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks, Breffney. Talk soon. Thanks, lads.
Andy Moran there chatting to me earlier in the week. Very honest interview, great responses to that. To the questions that were posed to him. Some tough questions in there, given the way that the season has gone so far. Apologies to those of you that were here at the start of the show. My mic wasn't working. I hope it's working with you now. Do let me know in the comments if there's any problems. But we'll move on quickly. We'll take a quick look at the results and fixtures of the Football League before we do cross over to have a look inside the camp at the Leitrim Ladies under-16s. They, of course, have a big All-Ireland semi-final clash with Antrim next weekend. So we'll be chatting to their manager, John Campbell, and a couple of players from around their squad in just a few moments. But first of all, maybe let's take a quick look at the Division 1 league tables. If we just bring them up here, the results from last week. And we take a quick look at the league table. Of course, St. Mary's continue their fine form with another victory in their second or third round game in that competition. I'll just reset these again. It's the results of the weekend. St. Mary, or these 2 weekends ago. Fianna St. Collians 2-22, Leitrim Gaels 3-7. Ryan O'Rourke with a big score in that, I think 12 points or 13 points in that particular game on his return to club football. Mohill 119, Glencar Manor 110, Knocknasheelan 9 points, Ballinamore Sean Heslands 4-18, and St. Mary's that 1 point victory over Mohill leaves the league table looking like it is on screen there. St. Mary's the only team with a 100% record so far. In Division 2, Anaduff 113, Melvin Gaels 2-8. Allen Gaels 118, Dromahare 211, Ballinaglera 213, Carrigaline 3 points, Havas 15 points, Kilturbert 4-9 in the league table there. Ballinaglera and Allen Gaels out on top of that particular table at the moment. Melvin Gaels struggling at the bottom of the table in Division 3. Drumreilly 18 points, Esslin 14 points. Sorry, just lost control of it here. Gortletteragh 214, Bornacoola 8 points, Clune 211, Glenfarne, Kiltyclogher 8 points, and Gortletteragh sitting on top of that table, 6 points from their opening 3 victories from Bornacoola, who they beat last weekend, 4 points, just 2 points behind Gortletteragh, while the rest of the chasing pack, Drumkieran, Clune, Esslin and Drumreilly all on 2 points. Glenfarne, Kilty yet to get their season up and running. Of course, they are in action tonight. If we look at the fixtures, we'll bring them up on the screen here. And tonight's fixtures in the Division 3 of the All-County Football League. Esslin versus Clune, Glenfarne, Kiltyclogher versus Gortletteragh, and Bornacoola versus Drumkieran. They'll go into battle today. While in Division 2, we have a full round of fixtures there as well. Dromahare versus Anaduff, Kilturbert versus Allen Gaels, Melvin Gaels versus Ballinaglera, and Carrigaline and Havas in a local derby complete the round 2 fixtures. One Division 1 game postponed, or at least moved to tomorrow afternoon, 1 p.m. throw-in. That's between Ballinamore, down here at the bottom of your screens, Ballinamore Sean Heslands versus Fianna St. Collians. That takes place tomorrow at 1 o'clock. But the other 3 games, all at 7 p.m. this evening. Leitrim Gaels versus St. Mary's, a local derby at 7 p.m. tonight. Mohill and Ahawillan, and Glencar Manor versus Knocknasheelan. So those games all taking place this evening or tomorrow. Plenty of action. We're not going to go in depth into those particular games. They've been well worked over the last 2 weeks in terms of the results and the fixtures all thrown in the next 90 minutes or 2 hours or so. We wanted to give time to Andy on today's show, but we did take a little visit last weekend, the weekend before maybe. We took a trip over to the training camp for the under-16 girls. They have a big All-Ireland semi-final against Antrim next weekend. First of all, let's hear from their manager, John Campbell, ahead of that big fixture. Here's what he had to say to me at training last week.
Manager of the Leitrim Under-16s, it's been an exciting first season for you in the job. You looking forward to an All-Ireland semi-final in just a couple of weeks against Antrim?
Very much so. It's been a reward for exactly how hard these girls have worked. It's a very, very easy management's an easy job when you have a backing of a county board, which has been very good to us all year, and the players' commitments, and also my coaching staff. So yeah, it is. We are really, really working hard to prepare now for this game. I would say that it's a just reward for where we've gone. We've found the provincial a little bit, I wouldn't say daunting, but it's been our learning curve for us. But the structure is there for us to keep going ahead, and I would be very confident going into the All-Ireland C final, because it's not something that a county like Leitrim gets every time. I know that we more or less automatically are guaranteed, because of the small numbers in our county, to get to an All-Ireland, but at the same time it's very prestigious. Going forward for these girls, when they progress later on in their career, it's something that they can look back and say.
In terms of the actual competition, this squad, 30 players as you mentioned, but pulled from clubs all over the county. How difficult was it to get these girls in? You mentioned a figure of 86 at training. It doesn't sound like it was that difficult at all.
No, well, at the same time, what was happening was we started with a panel of 86, and within 2 weeks we had to whittle it down to 30. It's because of the time frame that we were appointed. We're about a month and a half, 2 months behind. But you see, the lucky thing is with my coaching staff, I picked a coaching staff of people who were much more aware of players' qualities than I was. So it made it easier. So our couple of trials here, we had coaching staff and parents from the individual clubs who were able to point out players. But at the same time, it was also a learning experience, because girls who had never shone with their club, when it came to county then, they stepped up. So it wasn't the difficult choice that I thought I would have, because the quality of football within Leitrim I think is extremely high.
In terms of the girls who've come in, can you maybe tell us who's impressed you, without naming names individually, but who can we look out for in that game in a couple of weeks' time?
I would say that there are, well, we won't say names, but positions. Our full back is an extremely intelligent footballer, and we've been doing a lot of work on her. For centre and midfield, you will see a diamond there, which I think in a year or two time will actually be pushing at a very young age for senior status. We have players there who I think personally myself would walk onto any other county team within this province, is because I haven't seen as good as them.
Of course, the intermediate side start their All-Ireland Championship campaign this weekend as well. They're out against Kildare tomorrow in Abbott Money Park, John McDermott. Any of these girls we might see popping up in that team in the next couple of seasons?
Without a shadow of a doubt. Which is why I think that I've really embraced this job, is because this is the age group that it has to start at. We can see when it goes from under 16, having 30, I'd have 30 consecutive every training session. They give every heart they have. And I think it's the most important age group, because as leaving certs go and colleges come, then we've seen them that they start to whittle on. So if we can get some sort of success at under 16, progress to minor, and then I would give them 4 or 5 years, I would say 50% will make the nucleus of that team at the moment. They'll certainly be pushing some of them out, and these will be waiting in the wings.
Excellent. Well, listen, the very, very best of luck to you and your charges in 2 weeks or 3 weeks' time against Antrim, and the future looks bright for ladies football in the county.
Well, thank you to you, Breffney, as well, because I'm actually humbled and delighted that you could take it more than enough to do this. Is because with the underage ladies football, I think that it should be something of the future that we, especially going into an All-Ireland final, I would ask all parents and all players as much as possible to come out and support them.
I'm sure they will. Thanks very much, John.
Thanks, Breffney.
John Campbell there chatting to me 2 weeks ago ahead of the All-Ireland semi-final against Antrim in a week's time for the Leitrim Ladies under-16s. But when we were out there, we decided we might as well get to know a little bit of the squad. So we did take a few of the players aside and ask them a few questions about themselves, each other, their teammates, and how the season is faring out for them so far. We're going to hear from 4 of the team's members: Eabha McCartin of St. Joseph's, Orla McWeeney from Mohill, Saoirse Davis of Keeldra Gaels, and St. Brigid's Dearbhla Gunn. And here's the questions and the answers we got when we spoke to the 4 girls at training for the under-16 county team.
I don't even know if I know. Oh, I think I did.
I actually don't know.
Are we probably the same?
Yeah, I think it's the same, but I don't even remember my own.
I think it was Sligo, wasn't it? Sligo in Ballinamore in
Oh,
under
yeah,
14.
I think so, yeah.
I think it was. I don't know what year that would have been though, like 3 years ago.
Oh, you were under 14. So it was like,
Yeah, but
it was the under 14 development squad, I'd say. Like in 2019,
yeah.
up in like Ballyhonus. I'd say that's what it was. But
First time like an actual game though, because that was.
yeah, that was development squad. I don't know who you played. Oh, you played like Sligo or Longford first that year.
Yeah, but we got shut down because of COVID then.
Oh yeah, because you didn't get to like the actual championship at all.
Well, yours was the under 14, the under 16 game last year, was it? No, 2 years ago.
Yeah, year before it was
Under 14.
Yeah, I don't know who we were playing. We didn't win it.
It was Fermanagh last year in a challenge game. Wait, does that count? That was it was outside Enniskillen somewhere. I don't know where it was.
Yeah,
We won well though.
Fermanagh. Rona, I don't know. Then his two brothers.
Yeah, I have 3. Then you definitely have an older brother. No, younger brother. No, wait, you have a brother, right? His name's Dara.
Yeah.
No? Okay, well I can't think if he's older or younger. I'm gonna go with older.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he's older. Is that it? Or do
No,
you,
I have an older sister and a younger brother as well. Oh, okay, wait. John is one of the boys.
Yeah.
And then there's the other one, and I don't know his name. Darren, Alwyn. And that's it, is it? Yeah.
Okay. So you've 5 siblings?
Yeah.
Saoirse, Killian.
Yeah.
Oh god, I forget the other one. Yeah, okay. I think that's as far as I'm gonna get. I don't even know my own.
Neither, I have no clue.
I don't know.
I don't even know my own. I actually
have
don't.
my own one. So you can't have a right or wrong answer. We're so bad at these.
I'll just say Harry Styles.
I'll say The Weeknd.
That's fine.
Harry Styles. Niall Horan.
Yeah. Oh God. I've no idea. Who is it?
I don't really have one. I would say Billie Eilish.
Yeah. I don't know. I actually don't know. I don't really see that many people outside of
And that's
football.
like, I think Lucy has nice outfits sometimes.
Yeah.
Like outside.
Yeah, that is actually true, Lucy.
Lucy Murphy.
Tara.
Oh, yeah, Tara.
Tara.
Definitely
Yeah,
Tara.
definitely.
Probably be
Yeah. Saoirse.
me.
I'll just say that. Or sort of Orla, maybe.
Yeah, Orla McWeeney maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. She'd have the speaker anyway,
Yeah.
so she just took it up. Probably Orla.
Yeah. Just all one direction.
Yeah.
Probably Mohill or us.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe Mohill. Or maybe, I don't even know.
Oh, I'd like to think us, but I'd say it might be Brigid's have a good team this year, and so did Dromahair, so it'll be a tough competition anyways between the 3 or 4 in the division. I don't know, but my bet's on probably Brigid's.
Yeah. I would like to say us as well, but I'd say maybe Manor or Kiltubert. I scored a penalty in our final last week, and we'd been practicing them the week before, so that was kind of good.
Eabha.
Stop it.
I think probably, oh sugar, sorry. I think probably just like the bond between all the girls, you know, we've been really good friends over the last year compared to recent years, and I think it's just nice to see.
Yeah. Same with me. Like when somebody else does something good and we're all a team, we're all happy for each other.
Probably when I blocked the ball, because I'm really bad at blocking balls, and then I actually did. So probably playing ladies football at like a young age and just getting to bond with the older girls in the club. But
Yeah, winning finals, it's a good feeling.
you know, we have new management and everything, so make them proud as well and what they're doing with us.
Yeah. I'd like to win on the 5th of July.
Yeah. For us, like as a team, to get like closer and stuff as well, because
Yeah.
we started later than everyone, and then like I feel like we're a bit behind. And like we do have like a big enough age gap. Like there's girls in like second year and stuff. A lot of girls in second year, and there's a lot of girls in like fifth and TY.
Yeah.
So like to get closer, because it is kind of hard when there's a big age gap like that. Probably Lucy.
Yeah, Lucy's very
Eabha.
strong on her left foot side as well.
And Eabha like does so much for midfield. Like she's
Yeah.
always running and stuff.
She's been out and out midfielder. She's
Yeah.
run up and down, very noticeable.
Oh, it would mean a lot, and especially with Leitrim Ladies losing out to Antrim not too long ago. I think it's very important for us to try and show them that we're not just a small Leitrim team and that we can win.
Yeah, I think that's the same for me. Our line-out is different from when we started, and we've all learned a lot about each other, and we've learned how to play together, and it'll be good to show that.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah, be good.
And I think it's like we do have a chance of winning it, and we all think that
Yeah.
we like will win it and stuff. So if we think that way, we should.
If we have
hopefully.
a month now, no games, we put in the work, I think we can really
Yeah.
do something. They just, the atmosphere is a bit different, not in a bad way, but it's just like we're all the same age and stuff, whereas club
Yeah.
we're with like the ladies team and stuff, and
They're a lot older.
yeah, we're like the oldest ones of this age group now. So.
Yeah, so you feel a bit, like I feel a bit more comfortable here as well, because
Yeah.
I don't like, you can't really be like the boss at like senior and
Yeah.
stuff.
We
But
all
like here it's
kinda-
like we're all kind of like the boss or whatever.
and they've
so-
known each other.
Yeah.
We've been playing for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, well I think it'd be good if we have like a good positive attitude and stuff. I think we will do good. If we put it up to them at least, you know, give a good fight. We should. It'd be nice to win.
Yeah. I think if we do put in our work for the month though,
I think we
can
could as well.
come out
I
with a
definitely
win.
think we can.
It'll be very big
Like
for
so
us
many
as
of
well.
those like Connacht games we could have won.
Yeah.
Like, so hopefully.
Do ourselves some justice anyway.
Yeah.
It's four girls there giving their thoughts on each other, and of course that all-important All-Ireland semi-final next week. The very best of luck to them in that. That's it for this week. The best of luck to all teams taking part in games this evening. Of course, nearly all 22 of our 23 clubs in action tonight in the Masonite All-County Football League Division 1, 2 and 3. We'll be back with full-time synopsis of those games on the website on finalwhistle.ie over the course of the night. Player statistics, all of the usual stuff will be updated as normal by our team of reporters around the grounds. For those of you that listened to us for the last hour or so, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back next week with another podcast. Talk to you then.